Hello and welcome back to Part 8 of my TransAmerica Trail Adventure Across America series. In Part 7, I got to experience the sheer beauty and difficulty of the Colorado section of the TAT. This section was both exhilarating and terrifying as I found myself in a number of pickles between the rocky terrain and torrential downpour. Despite the odds, quitting was never an option. It was now day 21 of my adventure, and to my surprise, the sun was shining after a long night of rain and thunder. I packed up in a leisurely manner and hopped back on the trail. I had rode nearly an hour off course and had to backtrack to Tincup in order to reconnect with the TAT. These trails seem far less intimidating without the torrential downpour and booming thunder, though I kept it slow and controlled to avoid any further mishaps. I even found a couple opportunities to bust out the drone and capture some sweet shots. Once again, I cannot begin to explain just how epic some of these views were. You'll just have to see for yourself when you embark on your journey. When I arrived in Tincup for what was now my third visit, I made the executive decision to enjoy a real meal and see all that this wonderful town had to offer. I ate at Frenchie's Place, a cool little spot in the heart of the town serving up all sorts of bomb food. I highly recommend this spot if you're hungry and want to learn more about the town's history and its inhabitants. Now riding with a full stomach, I decided to make some rational decisions with the incoming storm and opt out of Tincup Pass, and instead take the big bike bypass. Boy oh boy was this a good decision, as the moment my tires touched pavement, the rain started up again. I rode in the pouring rain for what felt like an eternity. I decided it was in my best interest to find a campsite near the TAT and hunker down for the night. To my surprise, the rain stopped and I got to enjoy a night of being dry. With the sun out, I was able to dry off my clothes and get some filming chores done. Not a bad office, if I do say so myself. The next morning was warm and sunny. Even the bugs were enjoying it. I hopped back on the TAT and ascended into the hills, which gave way to some very cool rural areas. If I were to move to Colorado, this is probably where I'd like to end up. It was so calm and peaceful here, but for once I was making decent time and needed to continue that pace. Some of these roads were actually pretty rough, but before I knew it, I was back in the valley with the mountains off in the distance. This section was actually pretty emotional for me. I had remembered seeing a video on YouTube a while back of someone doing this section of the TAT. It really sunk in that I was finally on the trail, an adventure that I had planned for nearly 3 years. Before I knew it, Colorado was doing what it does best, raining. Luckily, it was short-lived and I was nearing some campsites. But before I made it to camp, I stumbled upon something amazing. Not far off from the Shadow of the Rockies section of the TAT lies Bishop Castle. I don't know why this wasn't on the top of everyone's list who has taken this route, because this thing is freaking cool. The castle was built by Jim Bishop over the course of his lifetime using rocks that he had collected from BLM land, which is impressive given how massive this structure is. Even better is that it's a free attraction, and he only asks for donations if you feel so inclined. I spent hours exploring the castle and ascending to the top of each silo. I even had the pleasure of meeting Jim himself. He even offered to let me take over finishing the castle, which I had to respectfully decline. Once I made it to camp, I met some of Colorado's most generous people. Travis and his girlfriend's family invited me over for dinner and hooked me up with some supplies for my trip. Just as I crawled into my tent for what I would consider a successful day, the rain fired back up. Luckily, I was nice and cozy in my sleeping bag and got to enjoy the sounds of the rain as it lulled me to sleep. Thank you so much for watching Part 8 of my TransAmerica Trail Adventure Across America series. In Part 9, I set out to tackle the remaining portion of the Colorado section of the TAT, which I assure you is full of ups and downs.